So happy to have you along this time out. I am joined as always by Greg Engert, Beer Director for the Neighborhood Restaurant Group, a James Beard Award nominee. The group includes Evening Star Cafe and Planet Wine in Del Rey. This is the 1 year anniversary of Beer of the Week. So I'm going to take, it's falling out. I'm going to take this. Jerry Seinfeld does a bit about Halloween costumes. The moment I put this on, the rubber strap broke, of course. So that's that. Happy 1 year anniversary to Beer of the Week. We are still appreciative that you agreed to do this. I have fun every week. We have a loyal following, I believe, and I think they appreciate it too. So good to see you. And
thank you.
What is on tap for the anniversary edition?
Well, I had to break out something special, of course. I think we do something special every week, but this one's extra special for our 1 year anniversary. I really can't believe it's been a year we've been doing these.
Time flies when you're having fun.
That's right, yeah. But to many more. And this one is also pertinent because it has a lot to do with what I've been up to. One of the things I've been up to recently, and that is Blue Jacket stuff. Of course, Blue Jacket is the restaurant, bar, and brewery coming to Washington, D.C. in the spring of 2013 from the Neighborhood Restaurant Group. And I've been doing some traveling with my brewmaster, Megan Parisi, and brewing a lot of collaboration beer. So we've done about 16 or so collaborations so far, and the last two were, luckily enough, done in Belgium. We were over there, we brewed with Brasserie de la Seine in Brussels proper, which was wonderful. We spent a lot of time at Cantillon, a great lambic producer, and then we headed out to see our good friends at De Struise, the brewery De Struise in West Flanders, Belgium. So past Kortrijk and Yper towards Popperings and the sea, and that's where we finished up, and we brewed with Urbain Coteau, who's a close friend, and makes some of the most amazing and most highly sought after beers in the world. And we actually brewed an Imperial Oud brew, and so it's going to be about a 12% rich, dark sour that we're going to release on its own. We're going to barrel age some of it. Lots of great things to come. And Urbain is going to, of course, be coming to the U.S. to do beers with us at Blue Jacket once we open as well. In the meantime, we will drink a wonderful vintage bottle of beer that he released in 2011. It's one of his standby beers that comes out annually, and it's called Pannepot. An amazing, strong, dark Belgian style beer. So Pannepot is from De Struise. First off, Urbain Coteau with his friend Carlo Grutart started De Struise somewhat recently. And De Struise means, in Flemish, means the ostrich or sturdy. And the reason why it's, so the sturdy brewers, but the ostrich part is because Urbain's family also owns an ostrich farm in West Flanders. So this kind of came out of that, believe it or not. And currently they've got this really cool bottle shop meets nano brewery meets schoolroom in an old school, literally in Belgium, where they also have about 29 different Struise beers on tap. So literally, people always say, like, what should I do if I'm in Belgium? Obviously, you're going to want to hit up some of the more classic things like Cantillon, but certainly head out to West Flanders and check out Struise for some of the best beers you'll ever taste, and really great people, of course. So Pannepot is named after De Pan, which is actually where Urbain is originally from. It's an old fisherman's town, and in the old days, the fishermen, once they got back from fishing all day, exhausted and in need of drink, would drink traditionally strong, dark ale. And so he kind of brewed this as an homage to the strong, dark ales that the fishermen used to drink. I should mention that this is the 2011 vintage, so it is aged for about a year, and we'll see how that treats it as well.
Okay.
Not bad, huh?
Oh, it is delicious.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's great. You know, the best thing about craft beer is when, I don't know how to phrase this properly, but there's a lot of hype around a lot of beer. Yeah. And typically, the hype is around beers that are scarce and hard to find. And from time to time, those beers, upon being procured and tasted, sometimes don't always live up to your expectations because the hype machine can sometimes, overwhelm the beer itself. That's just never, frankly, happens with Struise. Every single one of the beers I've ever, and when I was over there the night before we brewed, this probably wasn't the best idea. Ben treated me to a sampling of each of the 29 beers he had on draft. So, and I couldn't, of course, not say no. Because the funny thing is that he's imported, the Struise beers are imported, of course, but they come over in small batches because it's a very small nano brewery, and then they brew right down the road at a brewery called Deca, but very small production. And his beers are wildly popular all over the globe. I mean, he's sending beer to Japan, all over Europe. So we don't get a ton of it here. And a lot of it just never even ships. We never even see. So if you do, that's another reason. Like, even though you'll see some of these over here, even though you might be able to find some to trade online or in other ways, I promise you, if you head out to the actual nano brewery, the schoolhouse, you'll find something you never thought you'd ever taste.
Now, you mentioned you sampled all 29 of his beers. It made me think about a thought I had in my head as you were talking about the Blue Jacket collaborations. When Blue Jacket opens, I want to have a sampler of all 16.
Collaborations. Well, if things go to plan, I think we'll have at least, of course, but we'll have at least done more than 20, I think, at that point. The interesting thing to that is that we might not be able to have all of them on at the same time because now some of them we've brewed will age properly, and most of them are kegs. So I've saved some beers that I think will do well over time. But some, for instance, the Grodziskie Gratzer beer, Embers, that we brewed with DC Brau, 4% or under 3.8% alcohol, mildly smoky wheat ale. Maybe I can get DC Brau to rebrew that for us, but it'll be hard to do some of those. But I'm already starting to lean on some of our collaborative partners to be like, hey, do you think we might be able to rebrew a few of these in the lead up to have them as well?
And here's a out of left field question. Again, back to a topic you were just discussing about the hype surrounding beers and your expectations. I'm going to be out, I think, in early February in Santa Rosa, California, which happens to be the home of Russian River Brewing Company.
Yep.
And early February just happens to be the time when Pliny the Younger usually comes out.
You didn't tell me this yet. No, did you?
I don't think so.
That's awesome.
I think I'm going to be there. I think that's when it usually comes out, doesn't it?
Yes,
February?
I think so, yeah.
If not, I'll be disappointed. But is there any way, and I figure there really isn't, is there any way to walk back your expectations? I mean, how do you go in with maybe more of an objective mind? Because I'm worried that Pliny the Younger, while I'm sure it's good, that it won't live up to the hype in my big fat head.
I think this is an interesting thing about life in general and everything. Be it a movie. I mean, how many times have you as somebody, there seems to be an inclination for some people, and a lot of people, myself included from time to time, where if everyone likes something, suddenly it's not as cool to like it, or there's that part, right? That's a little bit. And that doesn't pertain to craft beer as much, I don't think, but then there's also the kind of thing where, people do. I see it with movies. It happens a lot. People talk about it, and so with this blend of knowing a lot about the thing ahead of time and it kind of being so universally loved, by the time you get there, maybe you kind of start to want to go to the other side because oftentimes it can be much more exciting to be critical than to be celebratory. So I do think it happens with beer sometimes. What I find is the best thing to remind all of ourselves about this is the utter subjectivity of tasting, and even more important, that the what is not necessarily as important as the where and the when and the how. So, some of the best beers I've ever had are readily available, but they were on this perfect afternoon, at the ballpark, or something, you know what I mean? So the situation changes so much. So I think that one way because I know exactly what you're saying, like, he's like, I can't wait to go, and then you wait in line, and then you put all this, and then you get there, and then you're not like, it's like, remind yourself of how cool it is that you're in Santa Rosa, California. Yeah, and like, you're at this awesome place, and then I promise you'll enjoy it, maybe even more so. And I think it's a very important part, because I've had that too, people come in and they're like, they've heard a lot about, say, I don't know, let's just pick the obvious one, Hop Slam. And then they come in, and truthfully, like, if they never had it before, but they have had things like Pliny the Younger, and they have had other great ones, since they've never had it and the hype is so big, they expect it to be something even beyond. Well, it's classes of things, and so and then they'll be like, oh, it's good, but it's not as good as this and that. And it's like, well, maybe we should stop trying to hierarchize everything and just say that, man, that was a fun time.
Right. I should be levitating 6 inches off the ground after drinking this beer. Before I'm rambling all over the place this time out. Before I forget, what would you pair this with?
Well, the great thing about this is, well, first of all, and this is a great thing about it as well, is that it's strong. So, I talk, it's interesting, whenever I talk about beer and cheese, because beer and cheese are amazing together, and I think better in many ways than wine and cheese. I like to talk about the historicity of wine and cheese and where it comes from. Well, typically in France, in French cuisine, we serve the cheese course after the main course. So it's customary to kind of finish your dry red that you've had with your meat with cheese, and sometimes that can cause problems because dry reds aren't necessarily the best partners for all kinds of cheeses. But even if you don't have cheese, you might have dessert, and that can be a problem. I bring this up because this beer to me is something that you have with your meat course, be it beef or I'm thinking about, because when I was in West Flanders, I had the most amazing rabbit dish, which would be great with this. And it was cooked in Rodenbach, so it had this great kind of sour cherry flavor. That would be wonderful with this. Or veal, or lamb or something like that, duck. You'd have that. And then, it's strong, so you have a little bit left over, and you can take that right into dessert. Because it has this great dark fruit quality that will dress your duck, lamb, your rabbit, what have you. But then it also has kind of understated milk chocolate quality that could be compelling with all sorts of desserts as well.
If you've got a question for Greg about anything beer related, the email is beeroftheweek@WTOP.com. Greg, we thank you as always.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Happy birthday.
Everyone, thank you. Happy anniversary. Beer of the week. 50 cents. Always, please drink responsibly and be sure to bring your thirst next time for another beer of the week.